Hi guys, Paul from Journey from Petrolhead. Again, we're in Petrolhead Towers because again, we're thinking about what we're going to buy on the marketplace. This is yet another segment in our Should I Buy section. So today, what we're thinking about, I've seen on the market a BMW M2, the 2017 variant. Now, when I was growing up, the BMW M3 was a really nice car to have, especially the E46 generation. Everybody thought this is an amazing machine, and they're right. The BMW M3 is an amazing machine, especially the earlier ones. The E46 generation was fantastic. It had a brilliant engine, had a nice gearbox, although you wanted to go for a manual gearbox then, not the SMG gearbox, which caused trouble. So watch out for that. Actually, if you're in the market for an E46 Gen M3, be sure that you go for the manual shifter. But certainly, they were the cars, they were the standard in that class. The Audi S4, the BMW M3, that was the one to have, the M3, an amazing machine. All the journalists raved about it. Over the years though, the M3 has lost its edge. So now we have Kia Stinger GTs, we have better Audis, I think. I think the Audi S4 and RS4 is better than the M3. There was a few hot Volvos that popped in the middle. There's even a nice Alfa Romeo, to be honest, that's really coming out now to challenge the M3's title. So BMW have come with a BMW M2. Now, slightly smaller, but back to the original idea behind the M3. So the M3 kind of grew a bit and wasn't as fantastic as it used to be. We're now back to the basics, right? We have huge rear tires, big front engine, and it's an M2. It looks the part. The body kit is really, really nice. It was originally launched in a racing game, would you believe? So unveiled a Need for Speed No Limits. So the Need for Speed video games, I've played a few of them. They can be good fun actually. And in November 2015, BMW launched the BMW M2 in the game, right? Later to show it in the metal in the North American International Motor Show. That happened in January 2016, right? And it got quite a good reaction. It was initially based on the M235i. But the M235i, the handling in the M235i, the rear end tend to break away a little bit, which wasn't really great when you're hammering on the roads. So BMW came along with the M2. What they did was they basically changed the rear tires and the rear wheels. So they put 10-inch wide rims and they put huge big Michelin Pilot Supersport tires, 265, 35, 19s on the back. The tires, big wide tires. So that's a shot of the car from the back. You can see the tires are quite large and it looks quite nice from the back with the quad exhaust. I like the quad exhaust that come out. It looks really, really sharp. So it runs BMW's turbocharged N55 3-litre inline 6-cylinder engine, right? So you have it with a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed automatic. I think I'd actually go with the Tiptronic box. The XF I'm driving has Tiptronic. The A5 before that we've spoken about had Tiptronic. I like the idea of the paddle shift. I don't like the idea of the paddle shift mounted on the wheel. You know my feelings on this. That Lamborghini we test drove recently had it mounted on the column where the paddles should be. So when you turn the wheel, nice big paddles, no matter where you are, the paddles are still in that section, right? So yeah, that's where paddles should be. So I'm not actually, let's just have a quick look at the interior of this one. I don't remember where the paddles are mounted on this. Let's have a quick look. And it's actually hard to tell from the picture. I'll try and get a decent picture and we'll put it on the website and have a look where those paddles are mounted. However, the car it's better to drive, right? The M2 is back to basics. It's got the big engine. There is 365 horsepower coming out of this, but there's 465 newton meters of torque. Now this is interesting because there's 460 newton meters of torque out of the Jaguar XF twin turbo diesel I'm driving, and the mid-range acceleration benefits from all that torque. This M2 will be a real challenger to that because it's got a similar torque level, but it's a much lighter car. I mean, the Jag weighs nearly 2 tons, the M2 weighs 1.5 tons, so there's a big difference here. The mid-range acceleration would be quite interesting. I'd love to drive one of these actually, so I'm going to go look for a test drive of one of these and we'll try and put a review up for BMW M2 in the next few months because I really wouldn't mind one of these. But the other trick that the M2 has, so while there's 465 newton meters of torque on a regular basis, there is an overboost facility on this engine to aid overtaking. That gives you an extra 35 newton meters of torque. When that's 500 newton meters of torque, that would bury that Jaguar in mid-range. That's fast. And in rear-wheel drive where the power should be going, yeah, I wouldn't mind playing with one of these now. I'd say that'd be fantastic fun. And the other thing is, there's an M-Drive system that BMW have introduced. M-Drive, what does that mean? That means you can put the car between comfort, sport, and sport plus mode. So comfort, toot along, nice comfortable drive, going down the motorway, going over to visit I don't know, relatives or whatever, you're not really in the mood to be hammering around the place, fine. M2, nicer, fine. Cruiser, no problem. Sport mode delays the gear changes till slightly further up the rev band and firms up the suspension slightly. So sport mode sounds like the way to go. However, I am aware that sport mode for everything can really make the steering a bit hard. It's on or off steering. It's hard to get the tail back in line when the tail steps out. This has been a known issue with BMW electric power steering in anything other than comfort mode. So we'll talk about that in a second. The other mode you have is Sport Plus mode. So what Sport Plus mode is turn off all the electronic gizmos and basically destroys the rear tires in no time, right? So you don't really need Sport Plus mode. There's a drift mode in there. These tires, as I said, 265 wide Michelin Super Sports, they're not cheap. You don't want to be burning your tires out and nothing flat. I don't know about you guys, I'm not made of money where I can destroy my tires on a regular basis. And I don't get sponsored by tires, so yeah, maybe I wouldn't use Sport Plus mode. What I think I'd use is I'd probably use individual mode or custom mode, where I can have the car in sport mode, the steering in comfort mode, and then it's supposed to be a fantastic machine to drive, and I'm looking forward to driving it some way. Now, what's the interior like? Okay, it's not the world's biggest car. It's nowhere near as big as the XF. So the XF I have's got a lot of room. You fit 5 fully grown adults in this car and they're all comfortable. There's heated and cooled seats in the front. There's loads of room in the back. So it's a nice place to be on a long journey. In the M2 I'd lose that, right? I can only fit 4 people who are about my height. I'm only 5'8". So you fit 4 adults of my height in that car. You won't fit 6-footers. Certainly in the back of the M2 you won't. I don't have many 6-foot friends. I'm not too worried about it. So the front seats, multi-adjustable, they're electric, they're heated, they're memory seats. You have all that, except the XF also has cool seats, and they're real comfortable. I can adjust the XF seats in 12 or 16 ways. As motors, you can narrow the bolsters, you can raise the headrest, you can raise the support. So the lumbar support starts here and goes up or down. You know, you can do all that. I wonder, can you do all that in the M2? I haven't sat in it. I'll let you know when I do. And then in the rear, you can have 2 options. You can either have a folding split seat, 60-40, or you can have an armrest in the middle, but you can't have both, right? So, yeah, okay, BMW, I see what you're trying to do. I think I'll probably choose the armrest, to be honest. Gives the passengers as much comfort as possible. You also get a widescreen sat-nav. Now, a point on sat-navs in cars, why? Let's just go with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay and use Google Maps, because it's far superior to any sat-nav system in any car anyway. So if the car sat-nav system is not based on Google Maps, I really don't see the point. So that's just something to think about. So that's the BMW M2. I do like it. I think the style looks brilliant. I think the driving ability of this will actually rival the XF, or might even be better in the XF. I like the Tiptronic mode, just because I like being able to do that on the wheel. I think that's kind of cool. And I've turned into a bit of a lazy driver when it comes to manual transmissions. Having said that, if I take it out for a drive in a manual shifter box, I imagine I'll probably buy that one. I think that's better. But what's got my attention with this one is the torque figures are huge. So the advantage of a twin turbo diesel is the diesel gives you a lot of torque early, and then when you have twin turbos, the smaller turbo spins up way low down in the rev range to give you lots of torque, and then the big one spins up, and you're just a constant torque wave right the way through. And the XF in the mid range is very, very fast. I think the M2 will be faster, and that's something I'd like to check. Now, 0 to 60 time, 5.9 seconds for the XF with 277 horsepower. This M2 will do it in 4.3. That's a huge difference, right? That really says to me this car will just take off like a scalded cat from the start line. But it does suggest also, with that torque figure, that the mid-range acceleration should be mind-blowing. So I really, really would like to drive an M2. I think that's a real contender as a potential replacement. Don't forget to look on journeyofapettrolhead.com, my website, where I have a should I buy section, and the M2 is detailed here, and that's what I'm looking at as I speak to you now. So, twin scroll turbocharger, again. Okay, so the XF has a slightly older technology. Here it has 2 turbochargers, a smaller turbo to do the lower rev range and the larger turbo to do the higher rev range. So when the smaller turbo runs out of puff, the big turbo has spun up by then, because a bigger turbo takes a longer time to spin up and gives you more power, right? A twin scroll turbocharger is effectively the 2 ideas bolted into one, right? It will speed up in the slow range and the high range. You don't need 2 turbochargers. The turbo will do a twin scroll. It's basically, think of it as a small turbo and a big turbo put together, right? That's really what a twin scroll turbocharger is. And being BMW, it's got the Van Alst system, the variable valve timing and lift. It's got solenoid injectors instead of piezo ones, and it's DOHC. Most of them are these days. But this would be an interesting car to drive, I think, and the twin scroll turbo might be nicer than a twin turbo, if you follow me. It's also lighter, it's got more torque. I think this is one I really like to test drive. This is the one I've seen on the marketplace. There's slightly more money, but you know what? A BMW M2 might be the place to go. Check out my write-up on the BMW M2 on journeyofapetrolhead.com, where I've put it in the should I buy section. This one is a real contender, actually, guys. So what I think I might do is I might go try and find one to test drive. I'll put a review up. You never know, I might even buy it. BMW M2. I've never actually owned, of all the fast cars I've owned, I haven't owned a BMW M anything. This might be the time to rectify that. Thanks guys, like and subscribe as always, and we'll bring you more videos.